this kid that, really all I wanted to do was play basketball. Literally, when I came home from school, I put my book bag down by the door, literally just put it there. It was just like something you just walk past every day. And, I just went outside and played basketball. That's what I did with my life. So for me, I'm 26 years old right now. I'm engaged to be married. I'm gonna be getting married in the next year and a half. Making power moves is very, very important for me right now, because it's not just me anymore. It's me and the reality that I have to provide for someone else in my life, which is very important to me. So what I want to do is just give you a little information about what we're talking about. So we're going to be going over a couple concepts: consumers and producers, ownership and the benefits. That could be owning where you live, that could be owning a business, that could be just owning your reality in life, taking control of where you're at in life, and then a couple different ways that we can invest. Who in here has a job right now? Where do you work? Where? Okay, where do you work?
I work at Habitat for Humanity Restore.
Okay, awesome. And do you work because you need money or?
Yes.
Okay. Do you pay any bills at home?
I do pay a bill at home.
What's
My
bill?
phone bill. Me and my mother's phone bill.
Okay, congratulations. Not a lot of people can say they do that. Do you pay any bills at home? Okay. So this is a great opportunity, and this is a great time to really start to buckle down and get ahead in your finances. If you're making money right now and you don't have any overhead, you can really position yourself to be financially successful. And I'm going to show you how. So a lot of this will be actually talking about these concepts, but showing you these concepts. So what's on my mind right now is in the next year and a half, I need to be in a position where I can buy a house, right? Because that's important to me. You get a pretty woman in your house. The first thing she wants to do is get married. What else does she want to do? She wants kids. She wants a house, right? So I have to provide this shelter for her. So that's where I'm at in life. So we'll be talking about that, as well as the overall mindset. So what I want to do is just transition into this first slide, and consumers versus producers. Who knows what it is to be a consumer? What's the difference between being a consumer and a producer?
Consumers, it's pretty much like, all you do is just take, and when you eat, let's say, people, you eat, or thinking of what, people give you, like investment or like toys and stuff, you take those, we buy these things. Producers are the ones who make them and give them to you, distribute them.
Okay, that's great. Who else has an opinion? Go ahead.
I think producers make the products consumers buy.
I can't hear you.
Producers make the products consumers buy.
Okay, let's just see what the definition says. So it says the difference between being a producer and a consumer is that a producer makes their own food and a consumer depends on other organisms for their food. That's the scientific definition of consumers versus producers. You might have learned that in 7th grade or so. But how does this relate to life and business and manhood?
You don't want to be the consumer, you want to be more of a producer, so you can be able to depend on yourself. You don't
Absolutely.
have to be able to consume and look for other things to kind of feed off and make yourself better.
Absolutely. So I know I listened to what you said. You said that you wanted to go into, is it IT last week? Or
Computer science.
Computer science? Okay. What made you want to do that?
More of like ethics and ego. So I don't like to be the person behind the screen. I like to be the person in charge of others.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. And is there an ideal company that you would want to work for at some point one day?
My own, kind of a private. I want to get a clearance. I can work on my own private.
Okay.
Company.
What made you want to do that?
seeing how people, I mean, it's similar to this, kind of seeing how people are the consumers and seeing if I could change the lives of a lot of people.
Awesome. So let me just tell you a little bit about what made me want to be an entrepreneur. So I work as a regional procurement manager with a company called National Bid Network here in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I also have my own real estate company where we acquire property, flip to investors. I'm working on keeping some for myself in the future. But as a young adult, one of the first moments in my life where I realized that entrepreneurship was for me was when, and just to give you a little context, my dad owned a auto repair shop, and he did that. He owned it since 1993. He actually just sold it in the last 2 years. But as I grew up, that's the only thing that I knew was, you know, I have to be in business for myself. My dad said, don't ever let anybody define your worth, right? So that's fundamentally what I knew to be true. So I actually had an opportunity. This was the opportunity to have my first car. A customer brought it to him. It was a 1993 Ford Taurus. He said, Nick, you can have this for $400. And I have $400. That's it. I looked at it, I said, I'm not really impressed with it. You know, Dad, I wanted something a little bit better than this, you know? So I debated on it for about 5 minutes. I said, you know what? I'll take it. I bought the car for $400, and I bought it, I washed it, I put some tire shine on the tires. I put it on Craigslist. I sold it for $1,300. I got the money in 7 days. All right, so I flipped my first car. I was 18 years old. And the reason that I did that was because I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Anybody read that book? What's the fundamental, have you heard of it or you read it?
I just heard it.
Okay, well basically it's a story between two different parents. This guy had a parent who was very educated. He had a parent who was financially successful, and the one who was financially successful was less educated than the parent who was more educated, right? And the reason I did that was because it says rich people or wealthy people take their income that they make and they invest it into assets that produce them more income, right? So they can go out and buy what they want to buy, but they do it in a way where they're letting their income from their investments pay for their luxury. You understand that? Does that make sense? So that's my first flip at 18 years old. I did that 10 times when I was in college. So I used to get a refund check when I was, going to school. I took out loans every year. It's the only way that I could afford it. And I get maybe $5,000 a semester refund check, and that would go to pay for living expenses. That would go to pay for books. So the first thing that I did was I kept doing this like rinse and repeat. I would go on Craigslist. I would go meet people. I would go buy cars that were $1,000, $1,500. They might post it for $25. I said, look, man, I have $1,000. What do you want to do? $1,000 cash. And I locked up deals that way, and I did that 10 times while I was in college. By the time I was 21, I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to get into real estate because I'm not making enough. I'm looking around at the car auction, and there's nothing wrong with being in the car business. But the reality is, if you look around and you're not impressed with the circles that you're in, you probably need to, go somewhere else or find something else, some more inspiration, right? So I've always had this mindset to be a producer rather than a consumer. And I think the moment in my life where it changed was when I picked up that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that was the moment where it really changed my life, and I knew that, hey, I had to be in business for myself. And I work now for a company, and I'm learning from my mentor how to run my own business, but also have my own business. So it's nothing wrong with having a job. I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, if you're not on your own business, then you're nothing. That's not true, because if everybody is a boss, if everybody's a CEO, who's actually gonna do the work, right? Because we need workers, and we need people who are competent. So let's move forward. Any questions on that?